Okay, so I'm gonna do basically like a little video log of my mushroom experience, my most recent mushroom experience and fourth experience. Fourth therapeutic experience for the purpose of expressing trauma or expressing repressed emotion and becoming more mentally healthy, I suppose. For context, what had kind of spurred on. Sorry, let me turn on those a little bit. What had kind of spurred on my motivation to do another trip or experience was that I had recently gotten a job, which I had thought of as my fun job, because I'd moved recently and I didn't need to make a whole lot of money at the time, and I was just working with children in a youth center and in a youth shelter, and my job was on paper looking like a very fun job. Mostly playing Super Smash Bros, eating food, and just like hanging out with the kids. You know, my job was make sure they don't die, and other than that, I was just hanging out with them. However, unfortunately, or whatever, what I had quickly noticed with starting this new job that was fairly social, there would be maybe like 3 or 4 other coworkers around me, typically working the floor with me, and a group of children at any given time, was that my social anxiety was evident, and I'd always known this about myself. It's something I struggled with myself for a very long time. Struggled with it my whole life, honestly. I mean, it affected so many things in my life. It's unbelievable. So many things. For the longest time, I felt like I was just trying to cram myself into the typical, like, the typical boxes of the typical things that people do, like going to bars and stuff and meeting up in these groups that to me would be like incredibly anxiety invoking, but that's how people met. That's what people did. So that's what I did. And for the longest time, my whole college experience and undergrad was like, parties were maybe more fun, but going to parties, going to bars, and being deeply fucking uncomfortable, a high percent of the time, not fucking enjoying myself, feeling bad about myself because of it, and just feeling fucking awkward, and all these things. And, yeah, so. And that sucked. And I at one point had wondered recently, like, how much of an effect that even had on me. Just so much time spent just feeling not very good. And I want to raise this a little bit. So, yeah. And, yep. Yeah, like deeply affected my life. Also affected my life with potential partners. Like one thing, the two big triggers for my anxiety were, I only have 9 fucking minutes. The two big triggers for my anxiety were big groups of people and like potential partners, and that really fucking sucked ass. Because both those things are hugely important in life, and hugely important vehicles to other things or things you want. So yeah, I couldn't fucking ignore this thing with my work, and it was clear that it was really fucking bad. I needed to fix it, and yeah. So I had set my intentions. Now we're getting to like the day of the trip. I had set my intentions. Oh yeah. I set my intentions. They were mostly about like social anxiety, and I think I like and tacked a few other things on there at the end, but they're mostly about social anxiety. It's funny because I kind of had this like bullet system, and I'd had the main theme and maybe some topics underneath. One of the bullets that stuck out is I just said fear, and that was the heading or the subheading, and then underneath it where I would explain more of what was going on with that concept. The next sub bullet under that was again just fear, and I knew that I in retrospect is kind of interesting. All the other ones had these big explanations, but it was just fear. I needed to address fear in my life. Um, and again, some other like minor things, I want to think better, or maybe reframe how I think about, myself or the way I look, these sorts of things. And actually, that did, I think, come up a little bit. And I think there has been improvement with that, but I can't say that that was mainly what the trip was about. So, yeah, I do the John Hopkins protocol, which basically directs this mushroom experience inward instead of outward. Instead of it being like a recreational experience, it becomes a more of a therapeutic experience, allows you to express emotion, come in contact with new ways of thinking and looking at things, allows you to express emotion and interact with truth, I think, in a different way. Examine your beliefs, etc. These are the two fundamental things going on in the mind, in my opinion. Pretty much. So, yeah, that was good. I've done it about 2 other times in large doses before, once with a fairly small dose. The 2 other times I cried the most deeply I've ever cried in my life. I think they were super instrumental for great trauma processing and improvement in my mental health. Unfortunately, it's so funny when you do these trips, you don't. For me, there's some, like, I almost don't want to revisit it. I want to leave it. I want to respect it. I don't want to capture it on camera and politicize it and gain from it. The only thing that motivates me to not keep it in the past is that perhaps the sharing of this story could, help other people potentially. And so we're doing that now. So, yeah, I'll just kind of run you through it. I was having like a huge amount of anxiety with the playlist that I play, because I've played with what playlist I would listen to a few different times, always had success. Don't think it's super strictly matters if you understand maybe the basics of what might be palatable and effective. Um, so, but I was getting like a little anxious about this, and I knew that just my anxiety about the trip was probably surfacing in what I thought about the playlist anyway. But it was nice, and I felt that it was a excellent kind of like offering or example of like going of relieving controls after I took and I started to prepare and settle in for the experience. When I went to select what playlist that I would do, which I had like 3 or 4, I ended up there was music already playing on my phone, and I listened to it, and it was like the genre of things that were any of those playlists, like classical and deep and these sorts of things, and I just thought, wouldn't this be a fantastic exercise in releasing control, to just be like, whatever's playing right now sounds good. And I don't know what fucking playlist it was. I don't know if it was just a Spotify song I was searching. When you search a Spotify song and you finish listening to it, it just keep playing stuff kind of the same genre. I don't know, but that was it felt very meaningful to me. I respected myself for doing that, and it was fantastic. Now I can like get into some of the trip. I'll tell you how fantastic the music was in a second. But the first thing was like, the emotional release and the crying and the easier emotional release, or maybe processing pain or something that I've felt in previous mushroom experiences happened very quickly. Yes, and there will be a reason for this that I will soon come to realize. But it happened very quickly within maybe the first I don't know, from when I put the headphones on, almost immediately. I took the mushrooms, some time went by to revisit my intentions or whatever, but from when I had put my computer turned off, when I had put the headphones on and really settled in, it was really quick, like almost like immediately I started feeling myself crying a little bit. Just raw emotion. I don't even know if it was anything specific that I could intellectually, cerebrally like hone in on. But and I remember just being like, I almost was like trying to control in that moment, just like, hold on now, like this isn't like, I don't think it's supposed to happen just yet, which is funny. And right now we can see how well this is all dealt with my orientation towards control, because I keep fucking finagling with the camera. I need to just fucking relax. It does not matter. And there will be a part 2.